How do you rate our chances coming into this one?
Look, our chances are obviously slim, considering how good Liverpool are. If they, because their pressing system is so intense, and we've had a bit of trouble playing our way out from the back before, and also our recent record against Liverpool is very, very weak. So from that point of view, obviously our chances are slim. But if you actually look at it from a point of view of how Liverpool play and how we play, and how we've shown to play against these kind of teams previously, you have to say that we actually do have we actually have a better chance than maybe people give us credit for. I think we know how to create chances against a high line. We have one of the best players who are up against a high line in Heung-min Son, and we I think that from that point of view, we have Kane as well, who's one of the best players to put a through ball in behind. So you have to say we have definitely going to have opportunities to get goals, but it's going to be very, very difficult to make sure we're concentrating on our game. We're making sure we're resolute. We're making sure we're compact, and it's going to be very, very difficult to keep Liverpool out, because they're front three once they're in full flow. And as well, you've got to remember the game in November. They didn't have Fabinho, they didn't have Thiago, they didn't have Van Dijk, and that's going to improve them a lot.
We didn't have Kulusevski, we didn't have Højbjerg, we didn't have a lot of players as well.
No, we didn't. But it's going to be a lot harder for us to create chances with them three in the team.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be a lot harder because as well, when they kind of were when we were in a low block and we were being compact, they didn't have Thiago playing those passes to break us down, and they're going to have them now. However, you're right. We're now going to have Bentancur, Romero, Kulusevski, all in the team.
Højbjerg wasn't even playing in the last game.
Højbjerg as well. Yeah, he wasn't playing. So that's also going to give us more aggression. It's going to give us more ability to win the ball back, and it's going to give us a bit more creativity when we go forward. So on the flip side, we also are definitely improved. So it makes this game fascinating.
Absolutely. When you look at the last 5 games between the clubs, what is it about this fixture? Because we always seem to get such bad luck against Liverpool. 2-2 earlier on this season. We were the better side. We should have won that game. Last year, 3-1 against Liverpool. The year before, 2-1 against Liverpool. Then 1-0 against Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium when Lo Celso missed that crazy chance. I mean, every single one of these games, we have missed some gilt-edged chances, haven't we?
Massive. Son's rounded the keeper, hitting the crossbar. Bergwijn's had 2 1-on-1s he's missing. You had the Sissoko chance where he blazed it over the bar. He had, not to mention, we probably had enough chances in that game in November to win 3 games, let alone 1. That was quite incredible how he missed those chances. That time
last year, Robertson should have got sent off and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was when the Celso
always go against us, against Liverpool.
Robertson did get sent off, didn't he, last time?
Yeah, he did last time.
In the late in the game, but it was amazing, absolutely amazing the chances we missed. Back in November, Dele Alli, Son, Kane, all missing unbelievable chances.
And it's like when you're looking at the Premier League, right, over the past 2 years, we've been the most clinical side in the Premier League.
Just not against.
Just Liverpool. When we come against Liverpool, we're like the most unclinical side in the Premier League.
I actually think when we play against Liverpool, we usually give them more trouble than a lot of other teams.
Agreed, yeah.
We actually usually play very well against them. And it also seems as well that Liverpool don't seem to have that many chances against us, but they're clinical. And whereas we usually have a lot of chances that we usually mess them up. And that's usually how it goes. We actually usually defend quite well and create chances when we can, and we're just not clinical when we take them. So we're going to have to reverse that. But we've shown early in the season when we played City that we can put in those kind of performances, and hopefully we can do the same against Liverpool, because it's going to be a massive, massive opportunity to make sure we go into the North London derby in touching distance of Arsenal.
We'll bring up the form of the last 5 games from Liverpool and Spurs. Obviously, Liverpool just on sensational form. There's no doubt about it. We're going into the Lions Den this weekend. Against a Liverpool team at this stage of the season, going for the quadruple, really.
Yep.
If they win this weekend and Liverpool and Man City drop points, they know that they turn into favourites for this title. So how do you assess Liverpool? I mean, they've just been unbelievable this season, haven't they? Is this the best Liverpool team under Klopp?
This season?
Yeah.
You got to say, in terms of going for all the trophies, yeah. I mean, they've had better league campaigns, and with the league when they won the league, and when the season when they finished second to City. I think they're probably going to finish on those two seasons with more points they'll finish on this season. But on those seasons, I guess that season when they finished second to City, they did win the Champions League, but they didn't win the domestic cups. But now they got the domestic cups as well, and they've got the depth which they didn't have before. You know, with Diaz and Jota there, which beforehand they were very much relying on Firmino, Salah, Mane. Now they've got depth there. With Thiago coming in, they've got depth in the middle, which they didn't have before. So I think in terms of squad wise, they're the strongest. I don't think in terms of football they're playing the best football they've ever played under Klopp, but I think they definitely have the strongest squad that they've had under Klopp, and it's given them even more consistency than they've had over other competitions they did before. Because before, I think this is the first season that they've been past the fourth round of the FA Cup or something. He's had an awful record in the FA Cup, Klopp, for Liverpool. So the fact they've got the domestic cups now, and they've added that with still competing in the league and in the final of the Champions League is just means that it's probably the best squad they've had.
But if they do go on to win the quadruple, I know it's a big if, but if they do,
it's not even that unlikely.
I mean, yeah, you need Man City to drop points from now to the end of the season, and they need to be perfect kind of from now to the end of the season.
I mean, as quadruples go, it's the most likely quadruple.
Oh, of course, yeah, of course. At this stage of the season, I don't think anyone's been as close as winning the quadruple as they have.
Never, ever.
But if they do win the quadruple, you've got to say that this is probably the best Premier League team of all time.
Definitely, considering what they've won previously as well. I think you've got to say for sure. I mean, no, this is hands down. They'll be the best achievement of any Premier League team ever. There's no, I don't know how anyone could argue about that. If you win the quadruple, no one could say anything about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you win every trophy, that would
absolutely
be ridiculous.
If you bring up their kind of predicted lineup, I'm not sure if this will be their lineup, obviously, but bring it up. I got a feeling Trent will play, so I'm not sure if Gomez will be there at the right back. I'm not sure if that'll be their midfield as well, because got a feeling Thiago will play. Where do you think the players will line up on the pitch for Liverpool?
I think Matip comes back in for Konate. I think Robinson and Alexander-Arnold start on the wing backs, because I think it's such a tough game. They need their wing backs to be in full flight in this one to make sure they're pinning us back a bit. I don't think Milner starts. I think it'll be the three I'm predicting is Henderson, Thiago and Fabinho. That's what I think the midfield three would be, because in midweek it was Keita and it was Fabinho, and it was Keita, Fabinho, Thiago. Yeah. But I think maybe he'll put Henderson in. It's starting in this one. And then up front, I think Diaz came on at half-time, didn't he?
So Diaz plays, yeah.
So I think Diaz will start. I'm not sure if he'll be Salah or I think Firmino's back in training, so he is available, but I don't think he starts. And I think Jota was hauled off for half-time last time, so I don't think he starts either. So I'm predicting Diaz on the left, Salah on the right, Mane down the centre.
And how the hell do we deal with that front line? With Diaz in there. And Diaz, with everything that happened in January, you just know he's going to score and have a great game against us.
He's going to have a great game. That's not, that's the least of our worries, you could argue, considering the other players they have. But it's going to be very, very difficult. We're going to have to...
Diaz against Emerson, by the way.
Yeah. But Emerson and Romero, you can put it like that. But we're going to have to make sure we restrict them as much space as possible. We're going to have to put the perfect performance. We're going to have Højbjerg and Bentancur putting out fires when need be. We're going to need to close down Thiago when he's getting too much space in the centre. We're going to have to think about Mane. We're going to have to think about Diaz. We're going to have to think about Salah. And we're going to have to think about the wing-backs as well. So Son and Kulusevski are going to have to do a lot of tracking back. They're going to have to do a lot of defensive work. And Son's going to have to be in a position when we do get the ball to make sure that we're counter-attacking and we're going forward. And we're making sure we're exploiting the space. Conte said in his pre-match press conference, it's all good and well and good being good off the ball, which we're going to need to be against this Liverpool side, but we have to be brave on the ball as well, and make sure that
against Man City.
Yeah, make sure when they press us, we're not scared of them pressing us. We're able to play around their press and work our way up the pitch and get forward. And you've got to remember, against Man City, though, as much as we counter-attack them, those 3 goals we scored were all from us keeping possession. They weren't from us quickly countering on their attacks. It was actually 2 of them start from goal kicks. We played the ball, we played it around a bit, and we made sure we got the ball in behind in crucial positions. We're going to have to do the same again. We can't just rely on the fact that they're going to attack and then we win the ball and quickly get the ball forward, because a lot of the times when we do that, Son and Kulusevski aren't going to be in positions for us to exploit the space. The only chance we will be able to do that is when we actually have the ball in settled possession, and then we can get Son and Kulusevski up the pitch, and then when we do and play the ball around a bit, then we can get Son and in behind, because we know that Van Dijk and Matip are going to be on the halfway line. We know Trent and Robertson are going to be far up the pitch, so there's going to be space for us, but it's whether we can be in the position to exploit it.
Yeah, absolutely. Bring up the one to watch, or the ones to watch, shall I say. We got Mo Salah, obviously, 22 goals, 13 assists in 32 appearances this season, which is monstrous stats. Mo Salah loves a goal against Spurs, obviously, as well. He hasn't been in the greatest form over the past month or so. What do you reckon has not been really clicking for him in the last month or so for Mo Salah? Or is it just he can't keep up that monstrous form that he's in all season?
Yeah, I think, first of all, his form early in the season was so good. I don't know if anyone can keep up that kind of form he was having early in the season for a whole season, unless you're literally Messi or Ronaldo, who've done it, consistently. I would say that I think other players have been stepping up a bit. I think that Mane, Diaz have been burdening more of the responsibility, which is more important. They share the goals around more than other teams, most of the other teams. Sorry. And I think that that's probably... And I think maybe the contract talks as well has had a bit of a toll. But other than that, I don't think he's playing terribly. I just think he couldn't keep up those standards.
And in terms of the other one to watch in Trent Alexander-Arnold, 2 goals, 12 assists. I mean, his crossing ability is completely elite, maybe the best in the Premier League. But what I would say about Trent is that there's definitely defensive flaws there that we can exploit, aren't there?
I wouldn't say flaws. Well, with Trent, I would say people say he's not a good defender because... He's not an unbelievable defender. He's a good defender, but he's not a great defender. With Trent Alexander-Arnold, his biggest assets are obviously on the ball, crossing, getting forward. His ability to spray passes without even looking sometimes, cross-field passes and stuff like that. I would say his defensive ability is that of... I would say he's still like a, top 6 defender. I wouldn't say, he would... As if he was purely taking him defensively, I don't think he's a bad defender, but he can be got at, and especially when he gets caught out of position, there will be space for us to exploit down the left.
Chances against him.
You do, because he can definitely be caught out. But if Trent, I think, has become more disciplined of late, and I think his defensive issues, what people were talking about earlier in the season, have definitely ironed out a bit, and I think Klopp's definitely worked on him with that, because he's not getting caught out as much as he was. But I think it's purely more tactical than personnel. Why there are opportunities for us to exploit. Obviously, Gordon gave him a tough ride, didn't he, at Everton? But he ended up not being able to do much in the end, apart from a few runs. But if Gordon can do that to him, maybe Son can get a lot more joy.
I mean, Gordon was getting the beating of it time and time again, especially in that first half in the Merseyside derby. And I was watching that game, and that actually gave me more confidence going into this game than maybe I would have had previously. Maybe we should have a look at the tactics board and see how you think we can beat Liverpool in terms of on the pitch. So do you want to bring that up for us?
Yeah.
Go on.
All right, so we've got a little tactics thing going on here. I hope... sorry. I hope you can all see that. I hope it's not echoing or anything. So this is how I'm predicting both teams are going to line up. You got Spurs in their 3-4-3 formation here, and then you've got, I'm predicting Liverpool in this 4-3-3 formation, which they play. So against Liverpool early in the season, the formation was more like... we had a 3-5-2, obviously, like this. Obviously, with different personnel. It was more like this. That was our formation early in the season. But now it's going to be a bit different. Now we've got Kulusevski here. We got the 2 players here. And we got obviously Son more out wide than central. and we've got Kulusevski there. So how I'm anticipating things are going to look when Liverpool do go forward is you've got the back three, Spurs back three tucked in a little bit more like here. You've got obviously I think Emerson dropping back to deal with Diaz. You've got Sessegnon back. I remember Sessegnon was very much dealing with Salah last time out. It wasn't Davis's responsibility to deal with Salah. It was Sessegnon. He was dropping back
and he did a very good job.
And he did a very good job. Then you got obviously the two defensive midfielders. We had 3. Remember back in November. We're going to have 2 this time. You got Robertson. Obviously, he's going to come forward all the way forward. You got Trent on the other side, who's going to come all the way forward. So it's very important, that Son and Kulusevski are dealing with those two, because if they're not, they're going to have too many overloads. And then you've got Van Dijk and Matip all the way pushing to the halfway line, with Fabinho probably sitting here. Now remember, so probably Kane dropping here to deal with Fabinho. You've got to remember as well, back in November, they didn't have that Fabinho player. So it was very easy once Tottenham actually got the ball to play around into the centre mid with Ndombele. They had Morton there, and Milner as well. So it was actually a lot easier for Tottenham to, once they did win the ball quickly, get it to Winks. That game was actually more counter-attacking than what we did against Man City. Because when we got that against Liverpool, it was definitely more get the ball, win the ball, get it to Winks on Ndombele or Dele, and then play an early ball in behind to Son on Kane, and we'll run him behind. So this one is very important. And
obviously, they didn't have Van Dijk that game either, did they?
They didn't have Van Dijk, so it's going to be much more difficult as well for Kane when unlike against City, when we played the ball into him, to make the ball stick and then get the runners in. Because against City, he had the strength to hold off players like Laporte and Diaz, but against Liverpool, is he going to have that ability to do that against Van Dijk and Fabinho? On the flip side, I think here this situation is going to be very fruitful, because I think Son, pace-wise, has the beating of Trent and Matip. I don't think Matip's the quickest centre-back. So I think if we do get early balls in behind to Son in that scenario, I do think there can be a lot of joy here. But we need Kulusevski to get involved as well, because if he doesn't, then you could all of a sudden start getting overloads in the centre. One crucial player is Thiago, who's going to be very much dictating the play here. Because this is how I see Liverpool in possession shaping up. So we actually look all right here, because you've got Emerson or Romero dealing with Diaz. You've got Sessegnon and Davis dealing with Salah. And then you've got Dyer, Højbjerg and Bentancur dealing with Mane, Henderson and Thiago in the centre here. But it's whether the difficulty is whether Salah or Diaz are getting joy against Emerson. Then that causes Højbjerg or Bentancur to go over defensively to cover the space. If that happens, then you can see Fabinho and Thiago getting a lot more space in the centre. That's where the worry is. And obviously Kulusevski, they're gonna have to take the wing backs. It can't be Emerson's job to take the wing back, because he's got enough on his plate. So that's where the problem is. If we get too far penned back, and Kane is the only one in our outball, that could be a bit of a problem. And all of a sudden, we could end up being suffocated. But once we do get possession from a goal kick, unless Diaz and Salah are going to be defensively strong, what we could do is, you're getting Son, obviously, in these spaces here, in between Trent and Matip. You've got Kane occupying Van Dijk and Fabinho over here. And then you want Kulusevski occupying those spaces. So when we do play the ball through, hopefully there'll be opportunities. If Kane drops deep, the runners will be in behind that way or in behind there. So hopefully we can find that space in behind left by Van Dijk and Matip, who like to obviously hold the very, very high line. The problem is Fabinho. Is he going to be man marking Kane? That's going to be a big issue, because if he is Kane going to have the ability to hold him off and then play the through balls? That's going to be a big issue. It's going to be a very big issue. And also, I think we do have a very big issue in the centre mid, because as difference between last game in November, we had the 3. where we had the numbers to compete with them. This time, we're just going to have the double pivot of Højbjerg and Bentancur. They're going to have Fabinho here, and they're going to have Henderson and Thiago or Keita
Against
outnumbering us.
in our last game against Leicester, I mean, Romero did such a great job stepping into midfield and creating that extra option and being that extra man in midfield. I mean, if he does this game, does that leave Emerson a bit too isolated with Diaz?
I would say so, because Diaz could definitely have the beating of him, and you need Romero here covering. Yeah, I don't think you can afford to have Diaz just one-on-one with Emerson. You need someone here covering.
So how do we combat that in midfield then? Is it going to be Harry Kane's job to basically just keep dropping deep, and being that extra man in midfield?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as you say, we're going to have to be brave. So, are you talking about in possession or out of possession?
Out of possession, sorry, defensively.
Yeah, I think we're gonna. So out of possession, we're gonna need Højbjerg and Thiago and Bentancur quite deep, shielding the back three. And if we're in this kind of defensive formation, we're actually okay, because we have. As long as we're not giving Thiago too much space, we have 2 players for Diaz, we have 2 players for Salah, and we have Højbjerg, Bentancur, and Dyer dealing with Mane in the centre, and Thiago. So as long as that's 3 against 2. Obviously, you're probably allowing a lot of space for Henderson and Fabinho, and you're relying on Kulusevski and Son tracking the wing backs all the way back. But in terms of their forward players, it should nullify them in that sense. But it's whether Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold can get the beating of Son and Kulusevski in that space.
But to be honest, in or out possession, it shouldn't really change Kane's position too much, because we want Kane a bit more deeper this game to feed those balls into Son in behind.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And the problem is, if Kulusevski or Son do let one of them go, it should be either Sessegnon goes out to the wing back and then Bentancur tucks in, or Bentancur goes out and you're leaving space in the centre. Now, the thing, as I've said, the thing is, in November, because we had 3 in the centre, it was what we did was Sessegnon just stuck on Salah, and we had a centre mid go out, because we knew we still had another 2 in there to defend the space in the centre. But now we don't. Now we only have 1 extra one. So that's that's going to be a bit difficult. On the flip side, but in November, when we did win the ball, we only had Son and Kane up top, and now we have Kulusevski. So now we have a third option to hurt them. And that could provide a lot more opportunities when we are going forward, as opposed to just the 2 on Matip and Van Dijk. We now have Kulusevski, we have Son and Kane going forward. And that means we have more options to play with, and it could lead to more opportunities. So it's an interesting tactical battle going on in this one. But what we're going to have to do is restrict them the space, and we're going to have to make sure that we're very, very good on the ball, because if we're not, we're just going to get suffocated. And if we get suffocated, they're just going to make sure that it's going to be just like relentless pressure. And we're going to cave if we give them that. We have to make sure we're relieving the pressure when we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting battle this weekend at Anfield. I mean, if we play a game like we did against Man City, like we did the first time we played Liverpool, there's all the chances there for us to take and get some results in this game and get some points in this game. But obviously, in the past, let's say, 3 games, we haven't been that good on the ball, have we?
And if you think past, no, we haven't. But if you think about the game in November as well, it wasn't actually the forward players that got the joy. It was the wing backs. If you remember, the first goal was Robertson getting a ball into the box and Jota getting the head in, and the second goal was Trent firing it across the face of goal and Robertson heading it in. It was actually Salah, Mane, and Jota being kept fairly quiet throughout the game, interestingly enough. And I think that's because we had the 3 in the centre and the 2 up top, which meant when the fullbacks went over, we had the centre mid go out, and obviously they were a bit slower getting out because they're being in the centre rather than the wing back. But now we have 2 wing backs tracking them back already out wide. That could help nullify them a bit more, hopefully. But it does mean in the centre they're going to get a little more joy. They could potentially mean that. So it's give and take, but it's going to be interesting to see how where we get the joy in this game.
Well, obviously, we'll see how it all pans out on a Saturday night. You can catch the watch along here on We Are Tottenham TV with Rez and Danny Kiriakou in the studio. Me and Sim will be up at Anfield and we'll be catching all the content from up there and sending it in for you guys to see. Hopefully, we'll be non-stop sending in some celebrations. But that is your match preview today. Just before we go, quick score prediction.
2-2.
2-2, yeah.
I think it's going to be a good game of football. I think it'll be open. I think both teams will have chances, but both teams might regret the result.
I'm going to go... I'm sticking with 3-2, man. I know it's an unlikely score, but I'm just trying to stay positive for this weekend, trying to stay confident and hoping with the kind of way we play football, with the kind of way they play football with a lot of space in behind, if we take our chances, I really believe we can win this game. I really do. But it's all a matter of taking our chances, because history tells us that we will not take our chances against Liverpool. But hopefully this can be a turn for the form books and we can get a result. Obviously, Anfield has not been a happy hunting ground for us for very many years. We went 72 years without winning there, just before we won in the 80s with Garth Crook scoring the winner. And we've only won 3 times there in the whole Premier League era. So history does really tell us that this is going to be an extremely difficult game for us, and it will be an extremely difficult game for us. But I do believe that if we take our chances, we really can get the result here. But that is our match preview. Let me know in the comment section below what your predictions are, what your thoughts on the game are as well.